What's up, Jet Nation? The interview with Manish Mehta is about to come on. You can also watch and listen to it on SoundCloud. It's going to be on there as well. The link will be in the bio. Um, if you're going to a football game, use our SeatGeek code. It's also in the bio. So use that. You get $20 off for your first purchase on SeatGeek. So it's definitely a good thing to look at. And one more thing is our Amazon. Go look at our Amazon storeroom. We have all tons of Jet stuff that it's easier for find, signed stuff, all this stuff. So definitely check it out. And again, enjoy the interview and hope to see you guys at the football games. Go Jets. What's up, Jet fans? This is Ali Ashraf, your host. I'm here with a special guest from New York Daily News, Manish Mehta. How are you, man?
I'm good, Ali. How are you?
I'm good. So let's just get started right away. You know, we had suffered a really bad injury with Avery Williamson out for the season. How do you think these injuries are playing with preseason and with week three coming up and the starters being out there for more than a half? Do you think this is the right decision by Adam Gase?
Well, look, he was honest the other day, expressing his regret for having Williamson in longer than the rest of the starters. He got hurt, of course, with a few minutes left at the end of the second quarter. It is unfortunate. Williamson's a smart player, obviously a respected guy, extremely good against the run. But I don't think it's a death blow, for lack of a better phrase. I think Neville Hewitt will do a good job. You saw Hewitt play well at the end of last year during that final month when Darren Lee was suspended. And Greg Williams will mix and match. I don't think it'll exclusively just be Neville Hewitt. I think there'll be some packages where other players who don't necessarily play inside linebacker might be cycled in and out, and that's something that Williams is going to learn, I guess, over these final couple weeks here before the regular season gets going. So, it was a significant setback, I think, for the defense, but not something that's insurmountable.
With training camp wrapped up, who are some of the guys that for you have stood out?
Well, on special teams, Greg Dortch, their undrafted rookie out of Wake Forest, barring something unforeseen, I think he's going to be the Jets punt returner, guy replacing Andre Roberts in that role. He was a guy who the Jets really liked after the draft. That's why they went after him, even though he went undrafted. And he hasn't disappointed. He's been solid throughout the spring, in the summer as well. Tough guy. So he's a guy who, I think if you follow the Jets, he might not necessarily be a surprise per se, but being an undrafted rookie and making the 53, it looks like certainly a pretty big feat. On defense, some of these young outside linebackers have impressed me. I didn't know particularly a lot about them, even though some were on the practice squad last year, and the defensive ends too. So Bronson Kafusi, I think he has earned a spot. We'll see what happens over these last couple preseason games. But from the defensive end position, he has done some pretty good things. The outside linebackers, that was a big question mark coming into this training camp. But they don't have that one dynamic edge pass rusher. But what they do have is a lot of intriguing younger players. The Frankie Louvu, who played about 40% of the snaps in a sub role last year, and Harvey Lange, who they got off after the Patriots parted ways with him. He had actually been having a really good camp before injuring his knee a couple weeks ago. He only returned this week to practice, and you're probably going to see a good amount of him against the Saints on Saturday. I think he's an interesting player. Terrell Basham is another guy, a former premium draft pick by the Colts, who has done some really good things on the edge as well. So none of these guys are household names. Obviously, they're inexperienced, unproven players, but players that I know that the Jets are excited about their potential. They're certainly going to have some opportunity now that Brandon Copeland is suspended for the first 4 weeks. So it's an intriguing group. I don't know what the ultimate impact will be from those guys, but I know that people in the organization are excited about what they could be. On offense, I got to go with Ty Montgomery, to be honest with you. I mean, he was a guy that the Jets signed late, maybe after that first or even second wave of free agency, on a one-year deal. a player who kind of got forgotten about in Baltimore. He had done some good things with the Packers, made one critical mistake on a kickoff return late in the game, and that ultimately got him shipped off to Baltimore. And then he kind of got lost, in that Lamar Jackson offense. So he's a very versatile piece for, excuse me, for Adam Gase. He's got a very similar skill set, maybe not the same level, of course, but a very similar, diverse skill set, like Le'Veon Bell, in that you can use him as a running back and wide receiver. He's obviously a wide receiver at Stanford, and then he got converted to running back out of necessity in Green Bay. And he has done a lot of good things, things that maybe I didn't expect, and I know he's going to be an integral part of this offense. If he can stay healthy, just another piece to the puzzle for Adam Gase. So, on offense, I'd say Montgomery kind of jumps out. Defense, that young outside linebacker crew, and on special teams, Greg Dortch.
There's a lot of also now. Those are the guys that you stood out to you. There's a lot of surprise cuts that are probably possibly coming, especially for the running backs. Don't you think?
I do. It's interesting because I've been asked this question a bunch throughout the summer, and when I'm asked who are they going to keep, obviously Le'Veon Bell, Tom Montgomery, they're going to stick, and that leaves Bilal Powell, Eli McGuire, and Trenton Cannon. What I thought was interesting recently was that Adam Gase praised Trenton Cannon as one of the guys who kind of surprised him, I guess. A guy that maybe he was pleasantly surprised with, but probably a better way of putting it in terms of his pass catching. So, I think he has a good chance of staying. He's got value in special teams as a gunner. So, I think he's trending towards staying. So then the question becomes, do you keep Bilal Powell, veteran, obviously a guy that this franchise is familiar with, or a young draft pick in Eli McGuire? Now, I would have said Eli McGuire made more sense a few months ago, but I just get a sense, reading through reading the tea leaves here, that Adam Gase really wants to keep Bilal Powell, and that's because of his versatility. My position has always been, if you didn't have Ty Montgomery on the roster, if you just had Le'Veon Bell, then to me it would be a no-brainer. You take the veteran that you trust, the veteran who has a track record of being reliable as a running back, a pass catcher, and perhaps more importantly, or most importantly, a pass protector. And those are all three phases of the running back game that are critical for any offense. But I know that Adam Gase places special emphasis on having guys who can do all three things. Pass pro, run, and catch. And clearly Bilal Powell checks all those boxes. I just don't necessarily know if you need him, given that you've got two veteran running backs ahead of him with Le'Veon Bell and Ty Montgomery. I would probably try to cultivate the younger running back in Eli McGuire. I don't know now if that's going to happen. I suppose there's a lot of football left for Eli McGuire, in this third preseason game, and then more importantly, perhaps in the fourth preseason game, or maybe Adam Gase has already made his decision. He wants to keep Bilal Powell. I don't know the answer to that right now, but I would have thought entering training camp that Powell might have been a guy that Jet fans are clearly familiar with, who might not make the team. But now I'm not so sure. I think perhaps there's a comfort level there that Gase is going to want to keep three veteran guys and part ways with Eli McGuire. Maybe there's something in Eli McGuire's game that Gase isn't particularly fond of. I don't know how much of a mystery that is, because we are talking about the third running back on your depth chart, with the two guys ahead of him already solidified for a spot. So, I know some Jets fans are clearly going to be interested because Bilal Powell's a fan favorite. He's a professional. He's one of the guys who I respect the most in the locker room. But just from an age and roster makeup standpoint, unless Gase really does not like Eli McGuire, I would have thought that would be the smarter direction to go in. But again, if he has a comfort level with Bilal Powell, then he should stick with him.
So with cornerback probably being the most empty position so far, I've had, because I run a Jets page, so like I get people commenting that we need a corner, and I'm literally about to throw my phone across the room as soon as I see someone say we need a cornerback, especially when we make like the wide receiver signings and all that stuff, and the linebacker. So Do you think Joe Douglas will make a big time deal to get another cornerback?
Well, I think the Jets are going to add at least one cornerback between now and the start of the regular season, and whether that means via trade or a waiver wire. I'm almost certain that they're going to kick the tires on some guys via waiver wire after the final cuts. The thing that people should keep in mind, and there's no escaping this, good cornerbacks, reliable cornerbacks, number one and number two cornerbacks do not shake off trees. They are not readily available. So, yeah, the Jets, for example, recently signed a wide receiver who had been in and out with the Ravens for the last couple of years. And I know that the immediate reaction is, well, they need cornerbacks. Well, obviously they need cornerbacks, but cornerbacks aren't just on the street right now. They aren't readily available unless they're hurt or they're not very good. That's why edge pass rushers aren't readily available. These are coveted positions in today's NFL. Edge pass rusher, cornerback. There's an old adage that you win and lose games fastest in the NFL at quarterback and cornerback. And people around the league subscribe to that notion because it's absolutely true. And because of that reality, they are in scarce supply. So Joe Douglas can't snap his fingers and trade for a number one cornerback. That's not going to happen. So that fans should get that out of their heads. I don't think it's possible for him to trade for a number two cornerback. To be honest with you, there are some teams who have depth at that position, most notably the Eagles, and clearly Joe Douglas is familiar with the Eagles. However, the Eagles have been saddled with injuries at that position. Their top three corners were mending, coming back from injuries, and the Eagles are in line to make a Super Bowl run. So they're not in the business of trading away valuable players at that position unless they get some kind of ridiculous haul in terms of draft pick compensation. So, do I think Douglas is going to make a trade? My gut tells me yes. Do I think that's going to excite fans? No, I don't. In fact, he's probably, if he does make a trade, it's probably going to be for a lesser player. Maybe a guy who's a third cornerback. Probably not. Probably more of a depth type of signing. Because remember, the Jets not only have issues at starting cornerback with Jermaine Johnson hurt with his hamstring injury, but they have virtually no depth. So when we watch this game on Saturday night, you're going to see Campbell, Arthur Millette, Alex Brown, and these guys are bottom of the pecking order type of cornerbacks on your roster. These are not players who are going to make a big time difference for you this year. Now, I know that Adam Gase and Greg Williams are taking the right approach. They have the right mindset, which is, hey, this is what we have right now to work with. So this is a good opportunity for these young players to prove that they're worthy, to prove that they belong and maybe can get some playing time. That's the absolute right mindset for a coach to have. But the reality is that you need a baseline level of talent at that position, and I don't believe that the Jets have that. And because of that, the Jets defense could be in trouble if they can't consistently get to the quarterback. If the quarterback has some time with the group that they have at the cornerback position right now, I think you can see a lot of big chunk plays given up through the air, and that's the quickest way to lose a game. I know that Greg Williams likes to blitz. He likes to blitz in unorthodox ways, bringing safeties and cornerbacks. But if you do that and you leave your cornerbacks on an island and they're not that good, you're going to pay for it. So that's something that needs to not be swept under the rug. That's a big concern for this defense right now.
So as we go into tomorrow for Saturday's game, what are some things you want to see from this game?
I want to see how Marcus May does. He's probably going to get his first action here. He got cleared for contact a week or so ago, and I know he's been itching to play. So you want to see him knock some of the rust off. You do want to see what a secondary with Marcus May and Jamal Adams actually looks like in Greg Williams' defense, because you haven't seen that outside of practice and only practice for a few days. So he's a player that I'm interested in seeing. I mentioned the outside linebacker crew. I want to see one of those guys or multiple guys, step up, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. Obviously, I want to see Taylor Bertolette make all his extra points because he missed a couple last week, and that's a problem that hasn't been settled yet either. I think for the brain trust to feel fully confident that they don't need to bring another kicker, Bertolette needs to have a really good game today. He needs to have a really good game against the Eagles next Thursday, and even if that happens, there's no guarantee that the Jets won't add a kicker who shakes free after getting cut off from another team. So that's a huge problem. Again, until proven otherwise, I think that's a big area of concern. I'd like to see how Ryan Khalil does. Working with Sam Darnold, he's going to play about one quarter. Jonathan Harrison is also going to play about a quarter with the starters as well. But Khalil, he's only practiced for a week as well. So you want to get him in sync with the young quarterback. And as a whole, I'd like to see this offense keep rolling with the starters. Obviously they played extremely well in the first drive against the Giants. They played extremely well on the first drive against the Falcons. They sputtered in the two drives after with Sam Darnold in Atlanta. So I know that Adam Gase's focus is, yes, it's great to get off to a hot start and keep that train rolling, but stringing together good drives after that initial scripted drive is something that I know that he wants to see, Darnold wants to see. So I'd like to see fast, efficient tempo for this offense for the first half. It looks like they're going to play anywhere from a quarter and a half to one series into the third quarter. That's the range, and that's basically what Gase has told his players, which is expect to play one drive into the second half. If things are going well, maybe they'll get pulled at some point in the second quarter. But the expectation is to play through halftime into into the one drive of the second half. So there's a lot of things that you want to see. I didn't even bring up the punter competition, but it's an important game. As preseason games go, I know some teams haven't treated it that way, but for this particular team, new coaching staff, some clear questions that need to be answered, maybe due to injury or due to lack of quality at a particular position. There's a lot of important evaluation that's going to go on Saturday night.
As this overall team is shaping up, do you think they're ready for Week 1 against the Bills?
Well, certain areas are. I think the quarterback is. I think Sam Darnold is. I don't think it hurts having another couple weeks getting in sync with his projected starting center. I think Jamal Adams is. I think C.J. Mosley is. I think they're different players who could play a regular season game this weekend. But again, there's some evaluation areas that need to happen. I know at least for Adam Gase to feel comfortable, and I think chief among them are his cornerback, and you obviously want to see the kicker be a little bit more reliable. So as a whole, do I think they're ready? Probably, because I think their key players are ready. But when you dig into the finer details, there are some important areas that kind of still need to be fleshed out.
So for you personally, so like what I've said a lot from the beginning, I said this team can range either to 8 wins, and that could be like the lowest, and they could honestly get 10 wins, 10 to 11 wins. Do you agree with that, or do you think that's like the correct range?
Yeah, that's the right neighborhood. I'm going to predict them as a 9-7 team. They do have a relatively rough early patch of the season, at least on paper. And I know you can get in trouble by looking at schedules on paper because a good team from a year ago might not necessarily be a good team this year, and vice versa. But I've always said that if they win 8 games, I don't think it's a successful season. I don't think it's a failure per se, but I just think that given the additions that they've made, from Le'Veon Bell, Jamison Crowder, C.J. Mosley, Quinnen Williams in the draft, and the fact that Darnold has a year of experience under his belt, and the fact that they hired a head coach who supposedly can bring out the best in this young quarterback, all of those factors to me lead to them having to have a winning season. And I know it could be difficult because again, the quarterback position is weak, and there's no denying that. And I want to see this offensive line work together. But I think that might be a little bit overblown. They got a lot of veteran guys. If they can stay healthy, I think they can gel relatively quickly. My biggest concern is the cornerback position. If you're giving up big time plays through the air week in and week out, you're putting a lot of stress on your offense to score a lot of points week in and week out. And maybe that's possible. I don't know, but what I do know is that I think they should win 9 games. If they win 8 or fewer, it's not a failure. I just think it's disappointing, and it should not be deemed a success, regardless of the fact that they only won 4 games last year. And and 13 games over the last 3 seasons. I don't think that really matters because you're looking at a different team, a different roster. The talent, for the most part, is there to play competitive games in December, to be in the playoff hunt. Whether or not they make the playoffs or not is not a determining factor, at least for me. When concluding whether this was a successful season, I think they need to have a winning record. I think they have a winning roster. If things break right, you had mentioned 10, 11 games. I suppose that's possible, but then things would really have to break almost perfectly. I'm not sure that's going to happen. But if they made the playoffs, winning 9, 10 games, that would not surprise me. I just think they need to be trending in the right direction and not take a baby step forward. I think they need to take a significant step forward. And when I say that, I mean if they win 6 or 7 games, you can say, well, they won 2 or 3 more games than a year ago. That's progress. I don't think that's progress given the influx of talent that they had this offseason.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is, this is on every Jets fan mind. Is Sam Darnold the real deal?
Yeah, look, I think that'll bear out over time. It's extremely encouraging. I don't think there's anybody in the tri-state area who's a bigger believer in Sam Darnold than I am. I saw it at USC. I saw the promise and the potential. He has the mindset to thrive in this particular environment. It's not like he's playing in Kansas City or Arizona. I mean, this is a pressure cooker here in New York and New Jersey. I mean, he's under a microscope, but he's got the right personality. I think he's always had the right personality. That comes from his upbringing. That comes from his parents. It comes from just who he is. So I'm not worried about any of that. I'm not worried about pressure ever getting to him, to be honest with you, even though he's only 22 years old. What I'm most impressed with this summer is his ability to process information quickly. That's a natural evolution for a talented young quarterback from year 1 to 2, but he's just got this incredible capacity to absorb what Adam Gase is telling him. And part of that credit goes to Adam Gase for conveying his message and his lessons in the right manner and pushing Darnold, in the right manner at the right pace. So you have to give the head coach credit for that. I just think that maybe these two guys are a good fit, a really good fit. And again, his ability to learn quickly and absorb information quickly is so impressive to me. That's ultimately going to determine how good this offense is going to be and how good this team is going to be. He's got a world of talent. I think he's going to be a difference maker in the NFL for the next decade plus. I think he is going to be a superstar player. He is not a superstar player right now. He can't snap his fingers and become a superstar player. I think it comes with time. It comes with work ethic. It comes with talent. I think he has all of those elements to be a special player in this league. So whether that means he's the real deal or not, I think he will ultimately prove to be a star player in the NFL for a very long time.
One last thing before I let you go. To become a star player, you need to know how to close out games. Last year, of course, it was his rookie year, so I don't blame him. But the Jets were in a lot of close games, and they could have honestly added 3-4 more wins because of those close games, but they just couldn't close it out. Do you think they have the firepower that they can close it out this year?
Well, I think closing out games is a mindset. I think it's a mindset. It's also about conditioning. Are you fatigued? Are you gassed at the end of games? Is that the reason why you're making physical and/or mental mistakes? I can't tell you definitively if they're going to be a great closing team until I see it. There's no indication one way or the other that it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. The only way to know is to go through the season and go through those tight fourth quarters and see if Darnold makes the plays that he needs to make in crunch time, if the defense makes the plays that they need to make in crunch time. I don't think any team, to be honest with you, unless you have a proven track record of closing out games and with the same players from the past, I don't think anybody in August can tell you, yes, this team is going to be a finishing team when they haven't done it before. And Darnold, again, is only entering his second season, so he has not done it. Do I think he's capable of doing it? Absolutely. Do I think they have players who are closers and are capable of doing? I mean, they absolutely do. C.J. Mosley is. I think he had the interception in the last game last year that helped the Ravens get to the playoffs when he picked off Baker Mayfield. So he can finish. He's got a record of finishing. But as a group, as a whole, I want to see it. I'm not ready to say that. Yeah, they're gonna reverse course here from a year ago or last couple of years, and be able to close out games. I don't know if they can. I mean, I guess I know they can because they've got players who can. I don't know if they will, and I don't think any of us will know until we see it.
All right, Manish. I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on, and hope you have a great season.